Rachel's bedroom looked like a warehouse. Her closet was stuffed with brand new shoes, and the floor was an obstacle course of unopened shopping bags. But while her apartment was completely full, her bank account was entirely empty. Every time she felt a spike of stress from a long day at work, or even just a flash of boredom on a Sunday afternoon, she bought something. Shopping was her default response to almost any passing feeling. The result was a mountain of stuff she never used. High-end gadgets sat in their original packaging, and dozens of decorative candles remained completely unlit. Deep down, she knew she didn't actually need a single one of these items. There was a complete disconnect between what she was buying and what she actually required to live her life. This abstract flowchart shows an impulse buy. Notice how this bright path connects the emotion node straight to the buy node, completely bypassing the logic center. When emotional reflexes override planning, financial damage is immediate. Funds disappear before the rational mind registers it. Since stress and excitement are unavoidable parts of daily life, the challenge becomes mechanical. To protect those funds, we have to find a way to force the rational brain back into the driver's seat before we hit checkout. Rachel's roommate, Emma, watched this cycle repeat for months. Eventually, she stepped in, pointing to the piles of boxes and asking Rachel to justify keeping half of it. Emma offered a very specific instruction. Set a strict 48-hour waiting period for any item that isn't a biological necessity. The rule requires a physical action. You put the desired item in your digital cart, but then you take your hand off the mouse and step away from the screen. Looking at this timeline, we can see exactly why this forced cognitive delay is so effective. It physically splits the shopping experience into two isolated blocks, selection over here and payment over there. That massive 48-hour gap acts like a wall. The sharp, high-energy wave of emotion spikes when you pick the item out, but it requires immediate gratification to survive. Forced to wait, the emotional impulse simply decays into a flat line. Once the noise of that emotion fades, a steady, linear path of logic has the space to climb up and take control of the decision, well before you ever reach the payment phase. Rachel tested the theory on a new dress she found online. She added it to her cart and walked away. 2 days later, her memory of the item had faded so completely that she forgot it even existed. She tried it again a week later with a new phone case. After waiting 2 days, the sudden urge to buy was gone, replaced by the simple, logical realization that her current case worked perfectly fine. Time strips the feeling out of the equation. By letting the clock run, a reactive emotional reflex naturally degrades into a calculated, rational choice. The 48-hour rule works on an individual level, but it has to fight against an entire landscape engineered to trigger us. Everywhere we look, we are surrounded by flash sales, limited-time offers, and promotional pop-ups demanding immediate action. To counter this, we can construct physical and digital barriers, tactics designed to introduce intentional purchasing friction into our daily routines. The easiest place to start is your inbox. By unsubscribing from store emails, you eliminate the emotional trigger before it ever reaches your eyes. In the physical world, the most effective barrier to overspending is trading convenient credit cards for actual cash. Tapping a plastic card or a phone is completely frictionless. But counting out physical paper bills forces your brain to process the tangible loss of resources, adding a layer of psychological pain that naturally slows down spending. Finally, you can add friction to your internal monologue by asking one simple question before any purchase. Will this matter to me next month? This forces your brain to project into the future, breaking the spell of the present moment. By cutting off triggers, slowing down transactions, and projecting into the future, you build a defensive perimeter. These friction points give the 48-hour cognitive delay the protection it needs to operate smoothly. Just 30 days after adopting the system, Rachel's environment looked entirely different. The chaotic piles were gone, replaced by a quiet, organized space. This bar chart shows the exact financial impact of that behavioral shift. Comparing her previous month's expenses on the left to her current month on the right, we see a clean, distinct savings of exactly $300. Every time she closed a browser tab or kept her cash in her wallet, it felt like a tiny, isolated event. But those dozens of small refusals compounded over a single month into real, measurable financial relief. The core lesson here is that an impulse to buy is almost always an emotion in disguise. It is a feeling to be managed, not a necessity to be fulfilled. The 48-hour pause provides the brain with the necessary time to find clarity. This brief delay ensures that your decision is based on long-term utility rather than a temporary spike in dopamine. By inserting a mechanical pause between a desire and a transaction, you take the power away from the impulse. You keep your money where it belongs, and your future self will thank you for it.